Live from Treaty 1 territory, this is APTN National News, recognized as Canada's best national newscast.
Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Dennis Ward. Today, Mark Carney was in Kuujjuaq, Nunavik, in northern Quebec for the Inuit-Crown partnership meeting. It's the first trip by a Prime Minister to this northern community in close to 2 decades. Joining Carney for the meeting were Inuit Tapiriit Kanatami President Natan Obed and a number of other government ministers. Crown Inuit partnership meetings are held semi-regularly to discuss issues of common interest. Since being re-elected a little over a year ago, the Liberals have focused on increased defense spending in the north to protect Arctic sovereignty. But Carney said they must also partner with Inuit on social spending in areas such as health, child welfare, clean energy, and road infrastructure.
But this is your homeland. Let's be clear. This is your homeland. You are the rights holders. And we need and will embed Inuit perspectives and knowledge in our approach and partner with your businesses.
Alberta Premier Danielle Smith is expected to announce the next steps in her push for a new pipeline to BC's coast on Thursday. In a statement, the press secretary to Smith said, quote, "We will have a major announcement on July 2nd to share new details about the Government of Alberta's submission to the Major Projects Office for a new 1 million barrel per day pipeline to Canada's west coast." The announcement will come after the Premier signed a memorandum of understanding with the Prime Minister in November of last year, outlining the framework for a potential pipeline out west. In May, the pair signed an updated deal, greenlighting construction on a new pipeline for as early as fall of 2027. The MOU has raised concerns from Indigenous communities that could be impacted by the pipeline, as well as BC Premier David Eby. A former NDP member of Parliament is questioning a decision by a Canadian mining company to hire controversial Republican politician and former Trump cabinet minister Kristi Noem, who was fired as the head of Department of Homeland Security earlier this year. APTN's Fraser Needham has more.
At a press conference on Parliament Hill Monday morning, Charlie Angus said he can't understand why on earth Nova Red Mining, a British Columbia copper and critical mineral mining exploration company, would hire Noem as a strategic advisor.
So what does she bring to the table? Human rights violations, torture, defying the federal court, and now she's setting up to do business with the natural resources of Canada?
With weapons and
Noem generated controversy as the head of Homeland Security, which oversees U.S. Immigration, Customs and Enforcement, or ICE, after ICE officials laid siege to the city of Minneapolis earlier this year, resulting in the deaths of 2 American citizens. U.S. President Donald Trump ended up firing Noem. As Angus noted on Monday, she was well known for having strained relations with Native Americans during her time as governor.
In her time as governor of South Dakota, her toxic relations with Indigenous people was so bad that it resulted her from being banned from all of their homelands. And she is going to be the one involved in moving forward copper mining on Indigenous territories in Canada? This is ridiculous.
For these and other reasons, Angus is calling on the Carney government to review just what role Nova Red and Noem plan to play in Canada's copper mining sector.
Our Prime Minister rightly sees copper and other critical minerals as key to building stronger economic ties with our democratic allies in Europe. This strategy is in open defiance of Trump's Dunroe doctrine that insists that Canada must be a weak vassal state serving American interests.
The Honourable Minister of Energy.
APN News reached out to both Nova Red Mining and Minister of Natural Resources Tim Hodgson's office for comment. In an emailed statement, Hodgson's office said they are committed to working with Indigenous communities through the Major Projects Office, and hiring decisions by private companies are not under the purview of the Government of Canada. Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.
2 remote communities in the Northwest Territories are on the move after out-of-control wildfires grow increasingly close. Our reporter Charlotte Moore-Jacobs has more from the evacuation center in Yellowknife.
After driving 600 kilometers through the night, Fort Simpson evacuees are arriving in Yellowknife carrying only what they could fit in their vehicles. An evacuation order was issued for the 1,300 Dene Métis community on Sunday evening, triggered by unfavorable winds in the forecast that could have pushed the out-of-control wildfire burning 7 kilometers closer to the village. Officials say firefighters remain focused on protecting Fort Simpson, while other residents wait for news from home. The ferry from Fort Simpson remained open for 24 hours for residents to leave the island by car, and for those unable to drive, they were sent by plane, checking in at the evacuation headquarters here. Beth Hudson and her family arrived at 4 a.m.
And it started to get a little ominous looking, like it blocked the sun. And so I think there was this general sense that an order was coming once that was starting to happen, because it really made it apparent, like, yeah, you could see the smoke clouds.
For parents, the uncertainty now shifts from getting out safely to helping others settle into an unfamiliar place.
We packed up what we could in the moment. We're able to get like his clothes and some books and like a bag full of toys and diapers, so we kind of have the bare necessities in that.
Michael Kazan, a wellness worker with Lillicray First Nation, grabbed the essentials, including his drum, but his focus less on what was left behind and more on supporting others in a good way.
We're talking about maybe doing a drum dance and things like that, just to kind of lift people's spirits up and that, because it's important to kind of just stay in the moment and not to, think too far ahead, because that might get overwhelming and things like that. So just to stay in the moment. And
up the Decho, Mackenzie River, the 130-person Dene community of Wrigley is also facing an evacuation order as residents leave to the designated host community of Fort Smith NWT. APTN reached Chief Jamie Moses of Betsikai First Nation by phone.
It was a lot of staff, everybody running around making phone calls and also going door to door. Okay, yeah, we got the evacuation order this morning. Well, actually, we got the alert and then the evacuation order not even 15 minutes later. So we have people driving out, and flight should be here. Our host community to be Fort Smith, so we thank them for that there.
As evacuees settle in, Jordan Villeneuve reflects on his experience fighting fires and says his thoughts remain with the crews.
It's a lot dangerous due to the fact that it's in remote areas and not much accessible, and a lot of stuff happens during those times. Like recently we had a crash.
There are currently more than 80 fires burning across the NWT, with many regions under heat advisories and experiencing persistent drought. Charlotte Mort-Jacobs, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
Gavin McKenna is a rising hockey star, and now he's headed to Toronto to play in the NHL. Our reporter Sarah Connors caught up with fans at a draft party in Whitehorse, where his journey to hockey stardom first began. She tells us why many there are calling him their hometown hero.
Mr. McKenna, we would like to draft you to the Toronto Maple Leafs.
The Toronto Maple Leafs officially selected hockey phenomenon Gavin McKenna first overall in the 2026 NHL entry draft Friday. While most saw it coming, that didn't make the moment any less sweet at this party in his hometown of Whitehorse.
And to have the #1 draft pick overall, it's pretty cool.
It's just an amazing opportunity for Yukon, and he is such a phenomenal hockey player.
See this is just, you never see this in your life. This is a one-off. Like this craziness, right?
It's a big win for his First Nation, which also hosted a draft party in Dawson City. The selection makes him the second known Indigenous person to be drafted first overall. Widely considered to be the best 18-year-old hockey player in the world, McKenna's now rubbing elbows with the likes of Justin Bieber. Hailing from a town of about 30,000 people, hockey fans here have long followed his impressive rise to hockey stardom. That includes his childhood hockey coach.
I'm not surprised that he's in the NHL. I'm not even surprised that he went number 1 overall, because that's the kind of work that he's put into this. So, yeah, he was always a step ahead of everybody on the ice.
As McKenna prepares for his NHL debut with the Leafs, the real question now is whether his hometown fans may need to rethink who they cheer for.
But now we got to buy Toronto jerseys, I guess, because we're Oiler fans, but we're going to be Toronto fans also. So.
We're going to work on it. You know what? He just made it a lot cooler than it ever was for me personally.
The Leafs will be really lucky to have him, you know. But truth be told, I would say that if Gavin went to San Jose, I would go to San Jose to follow Gavin because he's a Yukoner.
McKenna is proud of his Yukon roots, and fans here are proud of him. No matter where his NHL career takes him, people in his hometown say he'll always be one of their own. Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Whitehorse.
Well, that brings us to one of this week's web poll questions. Over on our website, we're asking, did you watch Gavin McKenna get drafted by the Toronto Maple Leafs? Your answers are yes or no. You can go to our website, aptnnews.ca/poll to cast your vote. And I know I sure watched. Now all we got to do is bring Connor Hellebuck over and you can hand the Leafs the cup. Time for one quick break and then a celebration for a special anniversary of an urban reserve in Saskatoon. Stick around. Welcome back. It's been nearly 4 decades since the Muskeg Lake Cree Nation established an urban reserve in Saskatoon in 1988. Now, in June 2026, the urban reserve is home to more than 60 businesses, and its partners are committing to building on that relationship. Video journalist Rachel May has more.
There's fear of the unknown. There's fear of what comes next. But I always remember this: without fear, courage would not exist. And that's why we're here today.
The Government of Canada says the Urban Reserve Asima Kanisekon ASKI, a partnership between the City of Saskatoon and Muskeg Lake Cree Nation, was Canada's first urban reserve. It was built on land previously set aside for city development. Muskeg Lake Chief Kelly Wolf says the urban reserve has grown over the past 4 decades to include Indigenous and non-Indigenous businesses, healthcare centers, and a university campus, showing the strength of the partnership.
We want to continue and expand on that relationship and that foundation. Our previous leaders laid the foundation before us, and now it's time to expand on that foundation and learn from our previous leaders. And we're very excited for this opportunity.
Chief Wolf and Saskatoon Mayor Cynthia Block have signed an MOU to keep working on future projects, this time in the Downtown Event and Entertainment District, also known as DEED. The goal is to breathe new life and celebrate culture in Saskatoon's core.
I don't think there's any timelines on any start dates of any projects. I think the first step is, now that we've did the ceremonial signing, now it's time to sit at the table together and get a full understanding of the project.
Mayor Cynthia Block says the MOU will help create long-term prosperity for the city and Muskeg Lake.
Both the nation and the city of Saskatoon are trying to create wealth for our cities, prosperity for the future, attract residents, making sure we have tourism here, making sure we have good jobs here. It's all part and parcel, I think, of any leader in their time.
Block added the city will provide public updates at least every 2 months, so residents can follow the projects as they move through planning and development. Rachel May, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
Well, we're always looking for your feedback or story ideas. Here's how you can continue the conversation. If you have a story you'd like to share, you can send us an email to news@aptn.ca. You can read and watch our stories by visiting our website, aptnnews.ca. And never miss a story by downloading the APTN News app. You can also find us online on your favorite social media sites, including TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. An effort is underway to make today, June 30th, a national day to honor survivors of the 60 Scoop. We'll hear from the man behind the initiative and how close it is to reality after the break. Stick around. Welcome back. Here's a look at your current conditions. Sunny skies and 23 in Charlottetown, 21 under the sun in St. John's. Sunny and 23 in Kuujjuaq, showers and 20 in Nain. 29 with the sun out in Montreal, 26 and sunny in Chibougamau. Cloudy and 24 in Sault Ste. Marie, 30 in Sarnia. 15 in Thunder Bay, 24 with the sun out in Sioux Lookout. Plus 3 in Churchill, 19 with showers in God's Lake. Cloudy and 19 in Barons River, sunny and 19 in Winnipeg. 15 in Regina, cloudy and 17 in Saskatoon. 19 in Meadow Lake, 23 in Uranium City. In northern Alberta, 25 under sunny skies and high level, showers, and 23 in Fort Chipewyan. 18 in Edmonton, windy, and 15 in Lethbridge. 15 in Vancouver, 13 in Campbell River. 16 in Prince George, 13 in Prince Rupert. 11 with showers in Old Crow, 12 in Mayo. 24 in Yellowknife, 16 in Norman Wells. 1 in Sax Harbor, showers, and 15 in Polituck. 11 in Chesterfield, 21 in Arviette. 4 in Resolute, 13 in Iqaluit. A growing movement of people are pushing to make June 30th National Blanket Ceremony Day, or Indigenous Survivors Day, a day dedicated to honoring Indigenous survivors of child removal policies and practices, while creating space for healing, reflection, understanding, and hope. The observance was founded by 60 Scoop survivor Troy Macbeth Ambromidis, a member of Lytton First Nation. Earlier this year, the day moved another step closer when it received a first reading in the Senate. For more on it all, T.R. Wheatley spoke with Troy earlier.
Troy, thanks for taking some time for us. What is a blanket ceremony and what and who is it for?
Thank you for the opportunity to be here on the APTN National News. What I'm going to chat with you about today is National Blanket Ceremony Day. But the blanket ceremony in itself took place between myself and my family with the Drynok family and the Nikamin Indian Band. I was welcomed back to community as a 60 Scoop survivor and basically given the ancestral name Lehemkin Drynok. And that was my connection to community culture and reconnection to family, which happened a few years ago. And so I was given the opportunity to be welcomed back into community in a sacred way.
Now, for those unfamiliar with this push, what do you envision for a National Blanket Ceremony Day?
Initially, when I was reconnecting with community and reconnecting with my family and reconnecting with my nation, I'm a member of the Inuit-Crown Nation in Lytton Indian Band and Nikamin Indian Band. I've got family ties there. As a 60 Scoop survivor going back to community, I reconnected with my family and community in 2019. In 2021, the wildfire in Lytton happened, and I was one of the many helping hands who helped with the rebuild and recovery. After I got involved with the rebuild and recovery and connected with my family in a good way, that's when I was invited to ceremony, blanket ceremony, and given an ancestral name. As a 60 Scoop survivor, there isn't a day or there isn't a lot of information out there for Canadians in general about 60 Scoop survivors or children that have been impacted by colonial child removal policies. And so much like there's Orange Shirt Day and there's National Truth and Reconciliation Day on September 30th, the goal for National Blanket Ceremony Day was to create a day of healing for 60 Scoop survivors nationally, so that for 60 Scoop survivors who are thinking of taking or making the first step to take the journey home, for families who may have had their children taken, put into foster care for adoption as part of the 60 Scoop, or for nations who are helping their families to look for the lost children. The focus of the day is to create a national day of healing, so that nations, families, children, and Canadians can come together to learn more about the 60 Scoop, to learn more about what happened to Indigenous children, and to help the children come home in a good way.
And Troy, can you tell us the significance of having this on June 30th?
There's two parts to this. The first part was Lytton First Nation, unfortunately in 2021, succumbed to a wildfire that burned down the entire village of Lytton and many of the reserves. And as a result of that, what rose out of the ashes was chief and council, the community, and members of the Nunavik community, and also members of British Columbia and First Nations all across Canada came together to support Lytton and to support the Nunavik Nation with the rebuild and recovery. So in 2021, that wildfire happened. So it's significance, which ties to that climate disaster, but also June 30th is symbolic from the perspective, it's the day before Canada Day, and it's also the last day of Indigenous Heritage Month. So it's a beautiful bookend to Indigenous Heritage Month with a focus on healing and rebuild and recovery and reconnecting children with their families.
And from my understanding, an Act for a National Blanket Ceremony Day was given a first reading earlier this year. How hopeful are you that it will become a recognized day?
I hope and I pray that this sacred motion that's moving forward in the parliamentary system in Canada moves forward in a good way. I'm hopeful that next year, sometime between the Senate and the House of Commons, it will move forward to receive royal assent. I'm also here right now in Niagara Falls. We're having the inaugural, sorry, I can't pronounce that word correctly, inaugural lighting of Niagara Falls for National Blanket Ceremony Day 2. So I'm here in Niagara Falls to support that. So essentially we're going to be blanketing Niagara Falls for the day at this national place, which is beautiful, historic, and a sacred moment as well. So I'm very hopeful. This pursuit for a National Blanket Ceremony Day, or a national day to honor 60 Scoop survivors, has been ongoing for the last 4 years. Next year will be the 5th year. So I'm very hopeful that the work that's been done by myself and others, the many helping hands to move this day forward, it will officially take place next year.
Definitely a significant way to mark it this year. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for your time as well. I'm very appreciative of that.
And that is all the time we have for your first look at the day's news. You can stay up to date with the very latest, though, by visiting our website, aptnnews.ca, or by downloading the APTN News app. And of course, we will be back here tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm Dennis Ward, Marcy Miigwech. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you back here in a couple hours. Have a great afternoon.